Today we are talking about limiting beliefs and how to recognize them. And this is going to be especially for, like, if you have a defined ajna, if you have splenic gates that are defined, whether or not the splenic center is defined or not, and then a line 6 in your profile, or in any of the first 4 or 5. So whether it's in your sun, earth, north node, south node, or moon sign. If you have a 6 in any of those, it's going to be more prevalent in your life, usually. But it is crazy because I've been talking about limiting beliefs a lot over the past, forever, but for the past few days as well. And I've been working through a lot of them, and this is just a pattern for a defined ajna. Because of the fact that, like, with a defined ajna, you have a certain way of thinking, of being with your mindset, with your perspective, with your thoughts, with your opinions, your beliefs, all these things. So it takes a little bit longer for a defined ajna to actually decondition from these things and work through the beliefs that they have. I know this. I have it. And it's kind of annoying, obviously, because it would be nice to just not have to. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, this is what my soul contracted to do, and this is the responsibility that I have, so we're gonna do it anyways. But it was really interesting, like, to see the limiting beliefs that I had on the surface, which was like, I'm not good enough, I don't feel worthy, etc., because, like, that's one of the biggest ones that, everybody just kind of has, and they have to work through on their own, in their own way, whatever way works for you. But I didn't really see any of the other ones underneath it until I finally worked through that one. So today I had this, like, test for myself, or not really for myself, but, like, it was for the universe, but it also was for myself through that. Probably doesn't make any sense, but it does make sense to me. But it was a test to see where I was at with my mindset on my own worthiness. Because something happened and I was like, well, how do I feel about this? Disappointed. And I, like, waited for, like, other emotions to come up and, like, other beliefs to come through. And nothing else did. I was just disappointed because I wanted to really, like, help. So I was like, okay, it's interesting that I don't feel like I'm not worthy, because literally just 3 days ago, I felt like I wasn't worthy. So, and I've been really working on this one recently. Like, it's been something that I've consciously worked through over the past week, very, very heavily. So when I finally realized, like, oh, I don't feel this right now. I don't feel like I'm not worthy. I don't feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I am good enough, and I am worthy. Interesting. And I got really excited. And I was like, I finally feel like I've released this, or at least released this in this area. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I had this test of, is this belief released or not? And it was, and I was super excited about it. But then I was like, okay, what else is underneath this? Like, I'm fully, like, cool with having that released. Like, that's awesome. But what else is there? Like, now what else is holding me back? Because I could look at it objectively from, it has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean anything for me. It doesn't mean anything about me, more so. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm worthy. Good. So what else am I feeling? What is the meaning that I'm attaching to this? And the meaning that I attached to it, or that came up for me, was that I didn't fully believe that what I desired was meant for me. And I was like, what? Hold on, what? And I was like, okay, why? Why don't I fully believe that what I desire is meant for me? And then it was like, because I feel like I don't have a choice in what I do or where my life goes. And I was like, what? what? I did not know that this was an underlying subconscious belief of mine. You know what I mean? And it was so hidden underneath the worthiness that I didn't know. I didn't know until now. So I was like, okay, that's really interesting. Why? And specifically, I said, because I've been put in situations that I don't want. Right there. That, just looking at the wording, you can recognize where your limiting beliefs are. So if you know what it is, I want you to like comment below right now and tell me what specifically about that sentence shows my limiting belief. Because I've been put in situations I don't want. What specifically is the word? I think it'll be interesting to see. Anyways, so. Got it in? We're good? Okay. So, put. I've been put. It's not that I've made decisions that I was then living out. It was that I felt like I had no choice in the matter of what situations happened to me. And that is one of the biggest limiting beliefs for people as well, is that things happen to you, not for you. But at the same time, like, we are co-creators of our existence. So, knowing that whatever is meant for you will be yours, if you feel like you don't have a choice in the matter, then you're not going to have that choice because you won't let yourself. So that was what I was working through this morning. And so my logical brain, my rationalization was like, aren't those just consequences from your previous decisions? And consequences don't have to be bad. Like, they can be good too. Consequences are good or bad. We just use it usually in the negative way. But I made those decisions. So I wasn't put in bad situations. I chose, and I was living out that decision, the result of that decision. So that was still my own choice. So I was like, ouch. Ouch. Because nobody wants to really face the fact that like all of the decisions that they've made up until then have played out in their life. So I was like, aren't those just consequences from your previous decisions? And I was like, true. But then that means that I've made my life shitty for myself in the past. And I was like, ouch. And then my higher self came through and was like, not on purpose though. You made the best decision you could with the information you had at the time. Which is something that I've said a lot over the past. And I was like, you know what, that's true. That's very true. So now what? And it was like, just recognize that you've made the choices before and you can still do that now. So what choice do you want to make? What choice do you want to make now? And I was like, okay, true. I put myself in those situations on accident. I'm afraid of this. And I was like, why am I afraid to make my own choices and my own decisions for my life? Because I could screw it all up. I don't trust myself to make big decisions. And then I was like, good grief, like that's harsh. You know what I mean? Like, that is definitely harsh. But it's something that was like so deeply rooted that I could not see it until after I worked through the worthiness and through being good enough. So I don't trust myself to make big decisions because I could screw it all up. This specifically right here is one of the biggest fears of the gate 50. Taking responsibility, living into your highest potential. And like, this is like one of the biggest things. And I immediately recognize that as well. So then why? Why don't I trust myself to make big decisions? Because I've made bad ones in the past. And this right here is gate 44. Both of these gates, which I have, which is here. Gate 50 is right here, going from the splenic center into the sacral center. And then gate 44 is the one that goes from the splenic center into the ego center. And those are the only two gates that I have in my splenic center. It's not defined. Only those two gates are. And it was really interesting to see how these two worked together to play into this. I've made bad decisions in the past. I no longer trust myself to do this. And I was like, okay, cool. I know this now. So why? I've made bad decisions in the past. So my higher self came through and it was like, but you know more now. You're more aware. You're more capable and strong because of those decisions, because you've lived through those experiences. And I was like, okay, true. So then my higher self was like, what would help you trust yourself to make those decisions going forward? So I answered all that and whatnot. But it's so interesting to see how you can recognize your limiting beliefs based on the words that you're using, based off of what your life is right now for you. And it's the exact same thing that I've just noticed in my own life. And I mean, this is the number one reason why I'm working through these every day, it feels like. Also, because I have these 4 right here, and that is what I contracted as a soul to work through, to go through, to use as my main tools. Because everything defined is what I have chosen to do. This is who I am. These are my talents. These are my skills. This is mine. Everything undefined is taken care of by the universe. I don't have to do any of that undefined stuff. So it's helpful to see this, to know this, because where you're defined, that is where you should be focusing more of your energy. So like, I don't have to worry necessarily about as much these other areas. Yes, I have to decondition them, but it's much easier, I feel, for me to decondition what's undefined than what's defined. Because, well, for me, at least in my ajna, because I'm so set in my opinions, perspectives, beliefs, and I do this mindset work on myself all the time because that is what I am here to do. So, especially in the awareness centers, so the ajna, the emotional center, and the splenic center, it's backwards, so that's a whole different story. But you can recognize these limiting beliefs, especially where you're defined, and then also what you are saying in just like the wording. And it's much easier for me to see it than to try to hear myself talk about it that way. So seeing it in writing of, because I've been put in situations that I don't want. It's not true. I put myself in those situations. I just didn't want to take the responsibility. And I was like, boom, found it. Found one. And that was tied to the gate 50, not wanting to take responsibility. So looking at the splenic center gates that you have defined, you can also see what patterns and what fears that you consistently go through, and that are the really like deeper rooted ones. And for me, that is the taking responsibility, living to my highest potential, feeling like there's a fear in the fact that I can't, or that I'm going to screw it all up, etc., etc. And then the 44, which is the fear of the past, fear of repeating the past. And because I've made bad decisions before, like logically my brain's like, oh, I'm not going to trust myself to do that anymore. So it's really interesting. And at the same time, so this also ties into the line 6. So if you are a line 6, so I'm a 4-6, you can be a 3-6, 4-6, 6-2, 6-3. So wherever that is in your profile, or if you have it in your first 5, so Sun, Earth, North Node, South Node, and Moon. Sometimes the Mercury as well. So maybe the first like 6. The closer planets, really. Those ones have more to do with us. Well, that's a whole different story. That's a whole different conversation. But if you have a line 6 there, the line 6 gets stuck in all of the other lines. And it gets really bogged down trying to go through each line to figure out where it fits in. The 6th line doesn't fit in though, and it's not supposed to. Because as a 6th line, you have a direct connection to just kind of just being above it all, and not in a sense of like you think you're better than anybody else, not in the sense that you are better than anyone else. That's not what it is. It's that you don't feel the need to get down into the nitty-gritty of like the drama that's going around, the projections that are going around. And like, if you do feel that as a 6, you're stuck in the 5, because the 5 is the projection field, and that's where the world is stuck in right now. It's a really interesting conversation to have. But the line 6 really is just about like the 2 words that I feel really are the 6 are I transform. As a 6 line, you will not be the same person day to day, much less year to year. Somebody actually recently asked me when I was on a call the other day, and she was asking, well, like, who were you like last year, or who were you 5 years ago, like trying to figure out something else. And I was like, I don't know who I was 5 years ago. Like, I can barely remember who I was last year, because as a line 6, I transform all the time. And it just happens. And it's like hard for me to kind of keep up with it sometimes. And I'm sure as a line 6, if you're a line 6, you know how this feels, because you just are constantly transforming things in your life. And you just bring this energy, and you're transforming like the systems and things like that. And the way that you do that is all in the rest of that. But the bottom line is I transform. That is a line 6. And I have different words for each of the lines. So like line 1, I research. Line 2, I am. Because the line 2 is the natural. So the line 2 is really I am. And then like, what are you? Are you an artist? Are you a speaker? Are you a writer? Like, what do you automatically just do? You could also use I do, but I feel like I am is more like, I'm just going to do this on my own. I don't have to like go out and do it. So that's kind of what it is, because it also goes in with the Hermit. The line 3 is I experiment, because obviously. The line 4 is I connect. The line 5 is I reflect. Or was it I mirror? But it's one of those, because it's constantly, or I show. That's what it was. I show. Because to me, the 5 is I show others what they feel when they are talking to me. And when you're actually talking to somebody else as a 5, you are being shown what you believe by what you think about other people as well. It's that whole projection field altogether. And we all feel these in some way in our chart, because we have like 18 possibilities. I think there's 9 on each side. So there's 18 possibilities, and you at least probably have one of each number. So again, whole different story. We're getting way off topic here. But if that's something that you want me to talk about in the future, let me know. Leave me a comment. But yeah, so that is really how to recognize limiting beliefs, what to do about it if you have a defined ajna, how to look through the splenic gates and see what your deepest fears are, even if you don't feel like right now they are true for you or are not true for you. I mean, if you've already worked through it, that's fine. But if you haven't worked through it yet and you just don't feel like that is true, work through your other beliefs first, and I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be underneath there, because I didn't believe it either. And yet here I am 2 years later, like, oh, that was a really deeply rooted belief that my subconscious hid it from me for this entire time. Wow, And then, yeah, just being a line 6 and like seeing that. I feel like I didn't really finish my thought on that, but that's, like I said, if you want me to talk more about the line 6 stuff, let me know, because I have an abundance of 6s in mine. Technically, I'm a 4-6, but I have like 9 6s overall. That's 50% of my chart, and it's equally balanced between the personality side and, they're not on there, but the personality side and the design side. So I have a dominance. You can't be a 6-6, but I feel like a 6-6, if that makes sense. Anyways, I am getting way too much in a ramble. Yes. Let me know if this helped. I go on tangents a lot. I talk about my experience a lot, because that's a line 6. So, all right. I hope you have a fantastic day. I need to go and journal out all of this stuff that came out. I will see you later.